Okay, this one might not be in your sight line, but let's put it there because it's really important. This week, the Senate will start debate on Trump's top priority, the Save America Act, which would require proof of citizenship documentation to register to vote and a photo ID at the ballot box. Democrats are united in opposing it on the floor, while Republicans are split on changing Senate rules and eliminating the filibuster in order to get this thing passed. With us for more, McKay Coppin, staff writer at The Atlantic. All right, McKay, what are you expecting to see on the floor this week?
We're going to see a lot of speeches. We're going to see a lot of Republicans, giving very impassioned speeches about how this is absolutely necessary to safeguard the integrity of our elections. We're going to see a lot of Democrats calling this voter suppression. We are probably not going to see the bill pass. And I think it's important for viewers to understand that. And that's because as the Senate rules currently dictate, it would need 60 votes to bypass the filibuster. What's interesting to me, though, about this, Stephanie, is that this is the latest iteration of a longstanding Republican priority, right? We have seen Republicans throughout the 21st century try to implement voter ID laws. This goes a step further, requiring proof of citizenship. That means a birth certificate or a passport, which many Americans don't have, which is why Democrats are so concerned about it. But it's running up against this other longstanding Republican priority, which is preserving the filibuster. And so we're in a situation now where Donald Trump would like to see Republicans in the Senate toss out the filibuster, which is this, kind of cherished tradition among institutionalist Republicans, in order to ram through this partisan bill. And a lot of Republicans are frankly not comfortable with it.
John Cornyn seems okay with that and hadn't been in the past. Is this all about Cornyn getting Trump support?
I mean, look, Cornyn isn't a primary. he's trying to win a primary in Texas. He wants Trump support. I think a lot of people who have known Cornyn for a long time were very surprised to see that he is willing to toss out the filibuster to pass this bill. I think a more cynical soul than I might read politics into his motives there. But Stephanie, I think it's also important to talk about the substance of this bill, right? There are nearly 3 million Americans who don't have a government-issued photo ID. There are 20 million Americans, according to survey data, who don't have easy access to passports or birth certificates. Who are the voters least likely to comply with this new law if it was passed? People from immigrant families, younger Americans whose documents might still be with their parents. Those are groups that Republicans are rapidly losing support with. Donald Trump made some headway with them in 2024. Most polls suggest that support has eroded pretty dramatically, and Republicans stand to be wiped out in the midterms unless they can either win back support from those voters or make them less likely to vote. This bill seems like part of a strategy to make it harder for them to vote.
This bill, which is obviously important to the president and important to those Republicans, but not necessarily important to the American people. And you've got some House Republicans threatening to block any other legislation until this specific measure becomes law. So let's just pause for a moment. We've got a war going on right now. Gas prices are surging. We've got lots of things that actually matter to the American people in their day-to-day lives. I haven't even mentioned surging healthcare costs. Does this strategy help Republicans to make this the one and only item on Trump's agenda that has to get passed and nothing else? Or nothing else even can get on the table?
I mean, it's a real read the room moment, right, for Donald Trump and the Republicans. The country has literally launched a war. The administration has launched a war in Iran. Gas prices are rising. There are a lot of problems that are much higher priority for voters than ensuring that people show their birth certificate to register to vote. But that's why I don't think you should think about this bill in terms of the politics of it, because I don't think that Republicans are doing this because they think it will be especially popular. They're doing it because they think that it will limit access to voting for people who are unlikely to vote for them. It is a logistical tactic. It's not a popularity or political messaging tactic.
A logistical tactic, a logistical nightmare. Before we go, I have to ask you, there was this very odd moment today between the president and Speaker Johnson talking about a Republican congressman who's dealing with a very serious health issue. Watch this.
We had one man who was very ill. It looked like he wasn't going to make it. I don't know. I won't mention his name. Should I? Do other people know his name? Do you want to mention it? He'll be proud. Go ahead. Tell him the story.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. President. Congressman Neil Dunn of Florida had some real health challenges, and it was very serious, and had a pretty grim diagnosis. And I mentioned it to the president, and I said, Congressman Dunn is a real champion and a patriot because he's still coming to work. And if others got this diagnosis, they would be apt to go home and retire. And
what was the diagnosis?
It was, I think it was a terminal diagnosis.
He would be dead by June.
Okay, that wasn't public, but yeah, okay. It was grim. That's what I was going to say.
Okay, we should add that Johnson says that Trump got his presidential doctors involved to help the congressman have emergency surgery, and now he has a new lease on life. What do you make of this moment between these two men?
I think there's a lot to dissect there. I mean, look, Donald Trump, not a man known as a world-class, example of discretion, certainly. The way that he tees up the House Speaker to tell this story that is flattering about himself, I think is notable but not surprising. I also think, though, that, there is an important political dynamic that's on display in that interaction, which is that the House Speaker, in past eras, even if he was in the same party as the president, was his own man, right? He led this other branch of the government. He was separate and apart. It was, when you would see them together, even if they were partisan allies, they were kind of two men with their own orbits around them. In there, you really see the Speaker of the House diminished in a way that I think is really striking. He looks like he's just another Trump aide or lackey who, he's setting up to tell a nice story about himself, and the House Speaker, perhaps betraying confidences, perhaps going against what his conference would like, just kind of goes along with whatever the president wants him to say. I think that it's unfortunate to see, because it does, I think, emblematize what has happened in Washington with Congress really being reduced, shirking its responsibilities, and allowing the president to kind of take over.